Okay, sorry about that. We had some problems with the video there. We were talking about inclusion and the issues that there are with inclusion in the classroom. Generally, most of the inclusion situations in the traditional high school have issues because the students, while being in the same classroom, are still isolated. They sit in separate places, they have teachers that pull them out, they kind of are already identified as special needs students. Also, these students, when working with their own teachers, tend to have different standards that they need in order to get their work done. Oftentimes it ends up becoming a teacher doing the work for the student kind of situation. Another issue is the teacher's acceptance and qualifications. Now I'm talking about the traditional high school teachers' acceptance of these students and their qualifications to work with special needs students. Oftentimes there's a debate, kind of between traditional and special needs teachers about what is real education, and I'm going to be talking a little bit more about that later. Also, when schools have inclusive programs for their special needs students, they tend to have larger classes. This makes it difficult for these traditional teachers when they have, instead of 20 to 22 students, they have 30 students in the class and some needing extra attention. And also there are the different standards. When there are special needs students in a classroom, oftentimes the standards for their assessments are different and for their assignments is different. And that can cause issues, but also again not make them feel like they're very included in the classroom, as well as making a difference between the traditional students and the special needs students. A lot of times the special needs students are considered the dumb students in the class. One even remarked in an article that I read recently that, they just call us the retarded students. And again, that's not meeting the special needs students' issues. That's not meeting their needs. Okay. Alternative education and alternative schools. I would like us to forget who wrote this, but our challenge is not to educate the children we used to have or want to have, but to educate the children that come to the schoolhouse door. Again, we'll forget that he's the father of Scientology. I believe this is a quote that we all agree on, and whether we agree on it or not, it's our job. As alternative educators, we are supposed to provide education for all of our students. Okay. So why alternative education? Well, because traditional schools are not meeting the increasing number of student needs. Okay? Traditional schools have students falling through the cracks. Okay? So we have special needs students that don't get all the attention they need. And I'm not trying to blame traditional schools. They are given everyone and told to perform for everyone, and I just think that's impossible. There are special needs students that need more attention. They need needs that maybe traditional school teachers did not get taught or have not been trained for, okay? And people get through the cracks. We have at-risk students. So a lot of students that are in the classroom are at-risk students. Perhaps they had problems at home. Maybe they have problems with addictions. Maybe they were born with physical disabilities. But these students that are at-risk students, or maybe they just got behind in credits, and they are now in danger of not graduating high school. And these are in the classrooms, and they might need a different alternative. There are students with difficult backgrounds. Again, we talked with people from drug and alcohol backgrounds, or families, or abuse. Oh, and we also have isolated students who maybe don't have enough attention at home. They're in the foster care program. There are all kinds of different situations that have students not living up to the traditional students' sort of background and have special needs that they need to get met in a school. And traditional schools are just not able to meet all of every student's needs. I think it's impossible for us to even ask them to do that. Okay. So how do alternative schools meet the needs of these students? Well, it's a process. I work at a school right now for a summer school program, and during the school year, they start by having to build trust. They got to build the trust of these students. These students have not had success in a regular system, and they got to do something to build this trust. They spend the first week building canoes out of cardboard and then going out canoeing. They do hands-on exercises, working with students, they get to know them, they get to do something kind of fun, and they don't have to just jump right in and put the pressure of school on them right away. And this has very good results for them. They build family-like support systems. People are all supposed to be getting along and understanding and having accepting attitudes. That goes in with the non-harassment policies. Non-harassment policies are very common in alternative schools, and I believe they're a great idea. I think the anti-bullying movement that we see going across the country is fantastic, and I think they take them one step further in many alternative schools. There are also credit attainment alternatives. They can get work credit in some of these schools. They have different needs being met by counselors. They have more faculty that are support system for them. There are GED Options 2 programs in order to help students who are low on credits in specific core areas, things like that. There are, of course, individual plans. We all know about the IEPs and the special education teachers that work with students and their IEPs. And a lot of times there's a relaxed learning environment. One thing that's brought up is a lot of students just have trouble sitting, or they just want to fidget a little bit. They just need to move around, and we're often taught to sit still. Well, oftentimes this is much more relaxed in an alternative school, and it makes all the difference in the world for a good number of students. Okay? And oftentimes, instead of just strictly the sage with a stage lecture kind of classroom, there's project-based or hands-on learning. And these tend to have tend to make a lot of success with the students. But when you build trust and do project-based learning, it's a whole new curriculum. It takes time, it takes patience, and it is hard to build that curriculum. Okay? So the challenges for alternative schools. The building trust. Again, I kind of brought this up already, but building trust, it takes patience. And teachers have to remember this. One bad day with a student and you can kill all the trust you've been building. It takes time, and you must stay the course. We have to set rigorous standards. The reason for having alternative schools isn't just to give them another place to throw troubled kids and keep school districts' numbers right. We are there to help kids, to set standards, to give them opportunity like every other student. And this can be difficult to do. You need to set rigorous standards and have them set from the beginning. Okay. You create alternative curriculum. This can be very difficult. It takes time to make mistakes and do things right and get things right. Okay. You have to work against the alternative school stigma. Traditional schools, among teachers even, but especially among students, will say that's the smart school, that's the dumb school. And the alternative school always has the stigma, but when you set high standards, when you do creative things and you do good things, you will get rid of that stigma, or at least lessen it to people who are paying attention. And then you also have to have the cooperation with the traditional school teachers and administration. It is so important that the schools where the students come from, that they support this system, that they are there for the students. They're there to help them, not to put down this other alternative school, but to raise its praises, to let everyone know that this is a good alternative program. When teachers are working together, that is a much better system.